Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 28th special council meeting, and appreciate everyone here. If the clerk would call the roll for the city council, and also I think there's another person that's going to call the roll for the rec district.
Certainly. Good evening, everyone. Councilmember Dennehy.
Here.
Councilmember Maloney.
Here.
Reeves.
Here.
Tony.
Here.
Worthington.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smisher.
Here.
For the rec district, Andy Palmazano.
Here.
Melissa Smines.
Here.
Christina Post. Absent. Cooper Trahern.
Here.
Sean Rogers here.
So welcome. Happy to have you here, and I would just like to lay out a little bit of the process for tonight's meeting, if I might. And as mayor, I'm responsible for setting a process to get through the evening. We'll see how far we get and what we can come up with. I do think that we need to have some defined outcomes that would be that the citizens can understand, the council can understand, the rec district can understand, and just where we're going. So what I've got is opening comments by myself, which I'm starting to make at this point. I would like to turn it over to Cooper from the rec district, and he has opening comments as well. What I would like to get after that, and I will also entertain a comment from Councilmember Tony, because he's been working on this as well. And then if we could, on this group up here, come up with what we think is the status for where we're at. If we could have consensus on what the status is, I think that would be very useful so that we are all on the same page with that. After that, given the status, what options are available for us going forward? And I'm not looking for advocacy there. I'm looking for more of a brainstorming that these are the options that we legitimately can move forward given the status that is there. After that, I would like to have citizens have their chance to speak to that once that's defined so that you can have actual something to do. If I put you up there right now, you're going to be shooting in the dark, and I'd rather have it so that it's defined for you. Following the citizens' comments, it comes back to the dais, and then we, among ourselves, based on the options that were there, that we come up with a forward plan. And if we can do that at the end of the night, hopefully we have consensus on this group with the two entities that are here on a forward process to get us further. So I'm going to repeat it one more time just so everyone is clear. Opening comments, we'll go into a conversation about the status as far as what it is, and if we can achieve consensus there, the citizens, will come up with options that, based on that status, the citizens will get a chance to address that, and then we'll come back and hopefully make some decisions so that we have a forward process to go forward. So I'm hoping that that will work. What I am wanting to do is we have a constitution. That constitution allows for free speech, and I'm 100% about that. I also have, as the mayor, and I've looked it up with the charter, I've talked to the attorney, I have, not that the attorney who's online, by the way, there's an issue of decorum. And I have a responsibility as the mayor to make sure that there is decorum in the process as the presiding officer, and that is something that I take seriously. And so it's going to be up to the mayor to, if something goes outside, it's not cutting off anyone. It's not absolutely stopping free speech rights, but we're going to have an orderly meeting. That's a responsibility that I have. With that, if I make a call that is not acceptable, the council can override me. And you guys can make a motion that says we don't agree with the mayor's position, and we will override. So that gives a checks and balance as far as dealing with that. Again, I've dealt with that and dove into that. So we have a checks and balance. But I'm wanting, again, to have an organized meeting, and that the citizens at the end of the day come out of this knowing where we're moving forward, and we have some definitions as far as where we go. And once we get some options on the board, I think that will be clear with that. So I'm about process tonight. I do have thoughts about this as far as where we should go, including some of the issues. I'm not going to be advocating for that right now. What I want to do is have a clean meeting and an outcome that is consensus for the citizens and the consensus for those folks that are up here. And so I'm going to try to refrain, although once we get some options, I may have to step up and say just where I stand on some of that, which is going to be a pro-business kind of concept, quite frankly. But my job tonight is run an orderly meeting and to give everybody a chance to speak and that everyone gets a chance to be heard, including everyone up here, and that hopefully at the end of the day, what I'll be thrilled with is we had an orderly meeting and we have consensus about where we're going, broad consensus. So with that, I'd like to ask Cooper if you would go ahead and give your opening statement and why we're meeting tonight. Just to be clear, and this was out there, the Rec District sent a memo or a letter to the City Council. There was a division on the council of exactly what that letter meant, and so there was a call for the council to meet jointly with Rec District and define what that meant, and hearing it from the people who actually wrote the letter. So that was the reason, but I'm hoping we get farther than just simply defining exactly what that letter meant, that we actually can come to some conclusions about how we handle this project going forward that is controversial. And again, everybody gets a chance to speak no matter which side you're on tonight. So with that, Cooper, thank you for coming. We appreciate you coming to the City Council offices and here at our City Hall, and you are on.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to reiterate our sincere thanks to the City of Canyon City and the dedicated volunteer members of the pool subcommittee for their ongoing efforts to find a sustainable way to operate and maintain the pool. We're very encouraged by the progress made so far, and we remain hopeful that we can bring this project across the finish line together. I'd like to begin by addressing the intent of the letter that was sent by the Recreation District to City Council. In recent months, there has been a significant amount of misinformation and rumors that have circulated publicly, and the purpose of our letter was to provide clarity to both City Council as well as residents of the Recreation District. Contrary to statements that have been made in City Council meetings, the Recreation District has not made any firm decision to downsize the pool or convert it to a seasonal facility, nor has there been any unanimous approval of such a direction. Additionally, comments suggesting that we should simply build the pool now and figure out operating funds later overlook critical constraints, most notably the project's bonding capacity. And as fiduciary of public funds, we cannot and will not make any further decisions without a firm, reliable commitment for long-term operating funding. Just as we have worked to provide clarity, we must also note the lack of clarity we have received. The Rec District cannot move forward effectively without clear direction from City Council. We've been made aware of screenshots and statements from City Council members indicating that the pool project is being shut down and that a downsized pool option outside the Recreation District is being pursued, all without the district's knowledge or input. We have also heard comments about stopping the collection of the dedicated sales tax, which directly contradicts the orders we received from council and the council's previous unanimous vote to continue collecting it, and it undermines the hard work of the pool subcommittee that has been working on this. The lack of consistent communication has understandably created confusion within the community, which is precisely why we sent the letter. We are grateful for the opportunity to meet jointly tonight to resolve these issues and move forward with greater alignment among the two parties. Next, I'd like to address the current scope of the pool project and whether the original design remains feasible. As we discussed at our joint meeting with City Council at the November 11th meeting, continued cost escalations have made the original indoor-outdoor facility increasingly challenging. While that specific concept has not been completely ruled out, we were only at 50% design development at that last review that we had. Additional work would be required to determine precise updated costs. If council is prepared to amend the IGA to release those additional funds, we could immediately engage GH Phipps to advance the design. We remain open to exploring modified indoor-outdoor options or scaled-back versions of the project. However, as we have stated previously, the longer this process takes, the more difficult it becomes to afford the originally envisioned facility. If we identify that the original scope as unaffordable, we will need to re-engage with the public to assess their support for potential other options. Finally, I want to emphasize that this process has been highly collaborative among all of the parties involved over almost 3 years now since we voted to close the RC Ichabod pool. Until recently, all parties have operated with a strong level of trust in one another's respective part of the process and the roles and expertise that each one of them has. The Rec District stands firmly behind the decisions made to date, which were based on due diligence, expert advice, community input, and multiple surveys. Tonight, we hope that our focus should be on identifying a clear path forward, which, as the mayor alluded to, we feel strongly that rehashing and relitigating past decisions is not a productive use of anyone's time. We respectfully ask that we leave this meeting with a shared commitment to a realistic, agreed-upon direction for the project and a renewed level of trust among all the partners involved. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to turn it over to Chairman Tony, who represents the Finance and Public Works Committee.
Great. Are we going to let the public speak, or is that?
We're going to do that after we have consensus about both our status as well as the options. And then the citizens have a long list, and make sure that you fill one of these out. Every one of you are going to get a chance to speak. And you'll do so with knowledge as opposed to, again, shooting in the dark right now. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thanks for the Rec District coming and explaining your letter. Appreciate that. Got great respect for you there. So you mentioned the November 2025 election, which was a city council election, right? And then, you know, you had a board meeting following that here recently in March, and you talked about the respect to the design and indoor-outdoor nature of the facility. You haven't made any decisions yet, right? So in November 11th, 2025, right after the election, I think everybody was told that if all three of those didn't pass, then we couldn't build the pool. One of them didn't pass, one of the three-legged stools, right? So November 11th, we had a meeting, and I wasn't present to that, but it was mentioned that the longer this goes on, the more inflation takes over and it becomes out of scope. And I think that's what happened in the March 10th meeting as well. That was brought up. That it had gone from 24 million to 28 million. And I'm concerned in another couple of years it'll be a 32 or 34 million. It wasn't mentioned that the O&M, operating and maintenance, also has probably gone up as well. So that estimated 500,000 that the city needs to produce to help could be more. It could be 600, 700,000. So, you know, this thing's been dividing the city ever since that election failed. And we've got to work together to get a pool for Canyon City. We want to do it this summer, or next summer. It's impossible this summer, but it'd be great to have it next year in 27. The way we're going, it'll be 2030. We'll have another generation gone before we can build a pool. So I think we need to work together to find a way we can do this quicker. So, you know, a little bit of history here. I want to walk through a little history. In 2000, the ballot initiative for the pool failed. 2006, the ballot initiative for the pool failed. In 21, the rec center pool ballot initiative failed. In 25, in 24, 2A, 6B was approved, but 6A failed. 2025, an excise tax failed. Now we're going to try parking meters. Parking meters being another form of tax. I think it's pretty clear the city does not, the citizens do not want a tax for the pool. I think, you know, using the meters as a primary source for the general fund is a tax. That's what I'm concerned with on that. So in the 6A, it was read that the one that failed, that the Canyon City Area Metropolitan Recreation and Park District taxes be increased by a mill levy of 4 mills to fund the operation, maintenance, and programming of the recreation facilities, which included the pool. There was a lot of questions on why wasn't it just for the pool. So again, I say, we need a pool. We'd like to have it in 2027, excuse me. And as we're going now, more taxes is not going to get us past the mark. If we do the parking taxes, and it's been said that we'll get $500,000, maybe more from parking meter tax. But then to operate it, it's going to cost $200,000. So you end up with $250,000 or so. If all the stars align, tourists are here, we're in a down year now. We may see a 30% down year in tourism this year. So that's a variable revenue on taxes. So, as much as our water committee worked to find a source of income for the O&M, I don't believe the parking meter would pass the litmus test for the bonding entities. So that's, I'd like to open it up now for citizens to talk about it.
Well, I want to hold off on the citizens until I really want to follow our process, which is there a chance we can all get on the same page as far as the status with where we're at? And so we can give a few more opening comments, but I don't want to open it up that we spend our whole meeting with opening comments. I think Fred has laid out where some members of the council are. I think Cooper has laid out where the rec district is, and how can we pull together a status concept as far as where we are. And some of those issues, I think, is the pool, as it was voted upon, is that feasible? That is a big question to do that. And I think I'll leave it right at that at this point.
Let me mention one other thing.
And you're coming next.
So I think people are realizing $3 million a year for 25 plus years is not the best thing for City of Canyon City to spend their money on. In essence, you'd be taking every bit of the bridge revenue and putting it in the funding of this pool.
Right. And again, I want to hold to, we get to status first. If we don't do that, then we're going to have challenges. So I'm asking the council and the members if we could get off the advocacy a bit and talk about what is our common understanding. Can we get to consensus that this is where we're at, what is feasible, what's not feasible, and to go forward. And with that, Councilmember Schmischer.
Thank you. Thanks so much for coming tonight and for agreeing to this joint meeting to ensure that we all have clarity on the status. My understanding, based on what Cooper said initially, is that the reason why we cannot have an updated design, Councilmember Tony, is because according to the terms of the intergovernmental agreement, they cannot expend any more funds on that contract. So unless we amend the intergovernmental agreement, they can't update the design. And from my perspective, at least, I don't think that we should update or amend the intergovernmental agreement until we have a way forward or not on the pool. I don't want us to spend additional funds until we know whether or not we can expend it. With regard to the parking meters, City Council unanimously voted, including you, I might add, to direct city staff to come up with a plan for the parking, for the paid parking, not meters, paid parking. They will be presenting that to us on June 1st, and I think that that is the appropriate time to discuss that, because I think at that point in time, we will have a better understanding of exactly how much revenue they expect it to generate, both in gross terms as well as what the costs of operating it would be. Right now, all we have is surmisations. Yes, we have information from 7 companies, but we don't have specifics. They have asked for that time to actually be able to develop that, and I think it's a waste of time for us to spend a lot of time talking about paid parking this evening when we've already unanimously directed city staff to bring back a plan for our consideration at the June 1st council meeting. My one other thought, just in terms of clarity on where we are, is that I know there is interest in whether or not we should continue the sales tax. I think that I would suggest that we have that as a discussion item on our Monday agenda, so that it is a city council, it's not a joint city council rec district discussion. So I don't think that it's necessarily appropriate for a joint meeting, but it is a city council conversation and one that definitely impacts the people of this community. So I think that we should talk through that because there certainly are implications. There are implications to the bond rating if we pause it. There are implications to continuing it if we don't think that there is a viable path forward for the pool. But I do think that we need to continue proceeding in a logical path, which is open and transparent, and ensuring that the rec district has all of the information that we have, and ensuring that everybody on the Budget, Finance, Public Works Committee and the pool subcommittee has all of the information at the same time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I?
Councilman,
mention-
no, I'm going to address one thing, and then I'm going to, I just want to get clarification on specifically the continuing tax that is out there. And as I understand, we have two opportunities to shut down the tax if we were to do that. That is January 1st and July 1st. And we have a responsibility before the state to give them 45 days notice. So effectively, that is the middle of May, and that is the middle of November. In our May issue, as far as dealing with that, we have a meeting before the middle of May, and we have one that is after. So the second one doesn't count. So as Councilmember Schmischer was talking about, May the 4th is that. If we reserve discussion on that specific day, we received an email or a response to a question that I had from the city administrator that we would have to do an emergency ordinance on that day, and to do it, because we can't do it on the second one. Ordinances typically require 2 readings. An emergency ordinance only requires 1 reading, and we could move forward with that. And I think if we have any thought that that is something we're going to do on May 4th, I think we do need to discuss it tonight so that the administration and the attorneys can be ready to have something in place for a May 4th meeting. Otherwise, to discuss it that night means, in effect, that that is not something that the council can do. If the council does not take any action, the tax will be collected. So there's a default position on that. No action means tax is collected. Action would be only to change that. So I do think, Councilmember Schmischer, that there is some need tonight to discuss if that goes forward. Obviously, and I'm only making these as points of order, if we hold off until June 1st to discuss the parking meter issue, I doubt anyone is going to vote to claim that we're going to cancel that tax if we don't know the results of the parking meter issue. And so that by default also means that the tax is going to be collected until December 31st. And so I do think that we ought to be discussing some of those issues tonight and just get a sense of where the council is at and also the rec district is at.
Can we open up to our board members to make comments
Yes,
as well?
absolutely, 100%.
Thank you.
Sean?
Thanks, Mayor. When we talk about the status, I think trying to update the public on the status of the pool, a big part of that, in my mind, is tied to the status of the rec district's relationship with City Council, which has a history. It has, especially around the pool, there's a rich history of collaboration, of open communication, of partnership. That isn't to say that it's always been perfect, but I think that that's been a big part of this story. When I've been thinking about what this meeting is even about, the last week, I guess, supposedly I think it was kicked off by a statement that we put together, which I think was pretty simple. I think Councilwoman Schmischer outlined the simplicity of the statement. And I had to dig a little bit deeper, and what I arrived at was, for a relationship and a partnership to be strong and successful, the key ingredients are ultimately trust. That key ingredient is ultimately trust. And trust is ultimately based upon truth. And truth ultimately comes from honest, transparent communication. I can't help but think that we're missing something in our communication. And I had that sense, and the clues, I would say, are not few and far between. They're everywhere. I think Councilman Tony's address tonight is very mysterious. I feel like I'm watching a movie where the plot is about ready to bust open. And I think if that if that is just my impression, I think we can go to like Canyon City Rant and Rave and read Mayor Lund's comment to Will Smith. It's a hilarious name. And he says, about an alternative pool, he says, Council Member Tony has been working on this, an alternative proposal, and I expect a proposal very soon on a downsized pool, likely outside of the rec district. That is my sense. I believe more information is coming very soon on what that would look like. I'm just giving you my best sense of what is before us. I'm doing my best to not feel like a crazy person in a relationship where, like before, I felt like we had a lot of open communication, to ignore what people are saying publicly and to act like we haven't already made decisions or we don't have clear thoughts, for me is a farce. It's a lack of trust. It's a lack of transparency. It's not taking each other seriously. I don't respect it, and I hope tonight we can do better. So let's have real conversations about what we're actually talking about. That would be my recommendation.
So I appreciate that, Sean. In my question is the pool as voted on by the taxpayers feasible and achievable at this point? And I've stayed out of this, quite frankly, because there's other members who are involved and we don't want to have quorums and all kinds of things. And I'm asking, again, just simply as the person trying to get to what is the status, is the pool as voted on by the members of the public or the citizens achievable based on what was there? And what I've heard is that, and I want to respond to why I've stated that, because there was conversations that I thought came out of the rec district meeting that the original pool was 24 million and that now it is 28 million. And what I also heard at that meeting, again, I wasn't there, but that the executive director had made a point at the end of the meeting that it was in fact 28 million now and that it was not achievable. So I asked that simply as status. How is the status achievable as opposed to us dealing with trust or anything else? Is it achievable?
That's a great question. I think that in order to answer that, we would have to, like Councilwoman Schmischer said, release more funds and continue a true evaluation by someone that is qualified to answer that question. What I would say is you haven't stayed out of this at all. That's what I would say. That Facebook question really shows that. That Facebook statement. And just to be totally clear, for context's sake, and this is very far from like and I told you, it's like in the meeting after the November election, I said we should stop collecting the tax, knowing that I wasn't responsible for that decision. I'm not here tonight in defense of a pool at all. I'm here mainly to try and straighten out a relationship that I believe is very confusing. And so your question, I think, is important. Is that pool buildable? I would say we can't answer that here tonight with the strength that we would need to in order to decision make. And that's why we haven't made a decision, is because we lean on people that are paid to make those decisions. But I have to drive back at the trust. Like, what is really going on? What is the alternative proposal? You said it in Facebook, Mayor. I would love this to be a moment of actual clarity.
What I think on the trust aspect is that we all also need to have the trust of the citizens. And that is something that I think has got into question at this point because of the confusion and things like that. A number of us are new to the council and we're navigating that. When I came on, I was absolutely in favor of the pool. I'm still in favor of the pool. It's a matter of how do we make that happen? And a pool doesn't mean the pool, and that was where I was responding. So when I'm on Facebook, I'm trying to give honest answers to that. I prefer not to even discuss that, but I'm wanting us to not only have trust between us, which I think is absolutely vital, but to have trust to the citizens as well.
I'm a citizen. Help me trust you. What alternative pool are you and Councilman Tony talking about?
I think what the meeting I was at, and I see some members who were out there, they're willing to say, let's downsize the pool. Let's get a pool, but downsize it. It doesn't have to be the exact pool that was voted on. And I understand that there's legal issues that are there that the citizens voted on a specific one, and I don't have all the answers. Dan is here, and I think our attorney's there. Is we've got flexibility or we don't have flexibility, Dan?
There was no exact pool that was voted on. There was a concept that was presented to the public, but there was no exact pool that was voted on.
I think what the citizens understood, and I understood as a voter as well at that time, was that there was the pool that was being presented at the various meetings had an indoor situation and it had an exterior situation. I understand we spent the $750 for 50%, and we need to do more than that. But the public did have a perception of what that pool is, and there are citizens who are arguing on both sides that they want a pool like it was, and if that's achievable, I think we can get there. I'm actually, again, just laying it out. I think the money needs to come from the city budget. I think if we stop pursuing outside items, that the council can make decisions themselves as far as the priorities. If the pool is a priority, we find the $300,000–400,000 within the budget and stop going after exterior or outside resources. I think that's exactly where we might want to go. However, I do think the public had a perception of what that pool would look like because they make thoughts about that we want that one. And then there are many, many others who are saying, just give us a pool, downsize the thing, and we can get there. And I don't know the legalities of what was passed, if we have that flexibility or we do not. And that's a status issue, and I'm asking you, sir.
We absolutely have the flexibility. The ballot language is what determines what we can or cannot build. Really, the only restricting thing in the ballot language was that it would be on school district-owned property. But beyond that, to the extent that you're asking whether we can build an indoor-outdoor option, I think that the word that we've gotten from the experts is yes. Is it the same indoor-outdoor option that was being designed at the time the ballot issue failed last November? We don't know because that's the one we priced. We don't know whether that's still feasible because of inflation at this point. But is an indoor-outdoor option possible? Absolutely. Is it going to be? But you have to remember that what was being designed last year was not the concept. It didn't look exactly like the concept that was presented to the voter, when the voters were looking at the ballot issue in 2024. Because that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works, because that's not how designing a multi-million-dollar facility works.
So, Mr. Slater, I would give you a couple minutes to lay out how you see the status. What do you believe, as the attorney for the RIC district, and all the legalities that are there, define for us, all of us sitting here, how you perceive the status? Because, again, that's where we need to get to at this point, is what's the status?
Well, as Councilwoman Schmisser, I think, has indicated, and I think as board members have indicated, the REC district's essentially in a holding pattern right now, waiting, because we have determined that we don't have operational funding for this pool internally. And we're not going to go to the voters and ask for another mill levy increase, because that's failed. At least that's what the board members have indicated so far. In our partnership with the city has indicated that they are willing to look at some way to provide and help in a partnership provide funding for the pool the voters have voted to build. And we're prepared to build that pool. But at this point, we're not going to make guesses or make decisions about that pool until the council tells us they have an option that's going to work for operating the pool. Otherwise, we're working at cross purposes with the council, and quite frankly, we don't have the funds that we had because of the intergovernmental agreement to do the planning that we were doing until last November. So I think the short answer to your question is we're prepared to build this pool, and legally we can build this pool by putting out the bond, by bonding the pool with the funds that the city is collecting. What we just need to know is how we're going to operate the pool. And that's the question the city council has to answer. And if they choose not to answer it, then the pool will not be built, period.
Yes, Kathy?
My simple mind says that when we look at this, I frankly think, and I'm guilty of it too, is talking outside of our lane. We have 2 lanes. The rec district is figuring out a way to build the pool. The city is trying to figure out a way to operate the pool, and we have stepped over the line. And that's mostly talk within ourselves, but anytime that we have some ideas as far as perhaps ways of making the dollars and everything else come about for building the pool, we should be coming straight to you, the rec district. Instead of talking amongst ourselves, we should be talking about, if we're talking about paid parking, that's one thing because that's operation. But the other thing is that we need to stay in our lane and make sure if we collaborate, and that is what has gotten lost in the translation.
Mayor,
Yes.
can I,
Who's
you
talking?
you were asking about
Yes,
the
Kyle.
price and everything else and how,
I'm just asking if it's feasible.
okay, so just to provide clarification. So the original pool program, based on the feasibility study that was passed in 2024, that was at $24.8 million, okay? That program included an indoor 6-lane lap with recreational features, spa, and then there was, a fair-sized building as well that meets all the requirements. The outdoor pool was a leisure pool, which would be operated seasonally, had a current channel or lazy river attached to it. We had an add-on potentially for 2 additional lap lanes to provide for better programming and cost recovery. And there was also a slide. And then, of course, there would be recreational features within there. So that's at $24.8 million. If the voters would have said yes on operations then, we would have been able to get going with construction quicker. We probably would have been able to do that program. Fast forward. So in 2025, we started planning based on construction coming up a little bit later than originally planned. So there was cost escalation. So the pool program had to change and shrink a little. So the building changed a little. There was a big meeting with the rec board where we had to shrink it. That was the indoor portion. Spa gone. We left as an add-on a potential program pool, and the reason for that was for cost recovery. Outdoor, the leisure pool shrank a little. The lazy river current channel went away. There were still rec features. There would be no option for outdoor lap lane attached to it. That's gone. And then you have a slide. The slide and the program pool were what's called ad alternates. So we were hoping we could afford that. Based off of the feasibility study, we would have been able to afford it if the voters would have said yes in '24. However, cost escalations came into play. So again, voters had the opportunity in '25 to say yes on operations. They said no. Now we're at a situation where we are at another year. I know that Councilman Tony mentioned we could be swimming by '27. If the voters would have passed the operations in '25, we would have been swimming by the summer of '27. There is no shot that we can get this thing built and done and be swimming in '27. That's now kicked to '28. So, and I'm thinking fall or something like that on '28, based on what we're hearing from the experts in the room. The other thing is, the slide was an ad alternate. The program pool was an ad alternate. Those most likely are now gone because we are now out of position. So if you want to go with the original plan from feasibility at $24.8 million, yes, if we kept everything in there through cost escalation, you were potentially looking at a figure somewhere in the neighborhood, 27, 28 million, hypothetically. Now, the partners that we work with are going to go off existing projects that they're working on, but they're not going to give us a firm number unless they can go out and clarify that. That's what our board has basically said and what the IGA has done. We can't go out and clarify and give you hard numbers until that time. But if you go back to '24, the original program that was done, we already shrank it in '25. We're going to have to shrink it again. And the question is, can we do that indoor-outdoor option? I cannot say with any confidence that that is a yes or a no. but it would have to shrink drastically because this is the situation that we are in. And that is a result of the ballot question. So I hope that provides some clarity as to why we are stating what we are based on the price. We shrank it once, now we're going to have to shrink it again. And the second shrink could be one body of water, or it could be 2 seasonal. I don't know. But the escalation is real, it's going up. These continue to climb in price, and they're not going the other direction. So that's, I hope that provides some clarity on what those figures are.
It does indeed, and I do thank you for that,
You're very
Kyle.
welcome.
Yep, I appreciate that. Is there anyone that would dispute what Kyle just said? Because again, I'm looking at status. So that's why it's not to dispute Kyle. It's simply, he laid out where we're at, and is there anyone that has a different understanding of the status than what the Executive Director Horn just laid out? So are we under the status is, and I want to repeat it back just so I'm clear. So there was an original proposal. It shrank because the cost went up. You're viewing that it would shrink again if we go with the bonding that was passed by there. So there's still 24.8 million that is passed and would be out there, but we're not going to get the pool that's there, but we do have the ability to get shrinkage to it, and you're not certain exactly, and I don't mean this as a criticism, you're not sure exactly what you will come up with until we have a release of the intergovernmental agreement, which would allow you to do additional funds and
Yeah.
get some final prices. Is that accurate?
Correct, but again, our board has been very clear. We're not proposing that we release it because we're trying to be good stewards of
understand.
taxpayer dollars, and we don't believe that that would be appropriate, at least at this time. But it is, the cost escalations are real. We have done we have done all the work on it, and the reality is that's where we're at based on the vote. It's not because of anything city council did or the rec board did or anything else. It's just is
Okay.
based on the election.
And I appreciate that. So again, from the funding side of the fence, as far as the build-out, I think we've got clarity on that. Now the question is operational, and I want to push this just a little bit, Councilmember Schmischer, because I think we do have to have some agreement tonight. So, Councilmember Tony, your committee has been meeting. Could you lay out the options that has been explored so we can talk about what has been looked at and some of this so we can get it off the plate? And where are we, what I'm after as far as status is what are the things that are left standing that we can actually look at from an operational standpoint?
Okay, but I need to address a few things first, if you don't mind.
Can I get some indication of what, because I'm really wanting to get status as opposed to back
Okay.
and forth with,
So our pool committee, we had a great team. I told them everything's on the table, everything from marijuana to the parking, paid parking came up that had already been talked about before. And one of the committee members at that point, the Finance Budget Committee had mentioned, and this is where you're getting that, I think, where you overheard that, was a private entity building a facility. And a facility built by a private entity worked similar to the bridge, where they build it, they give the, whatever, a 10% of their revenue back to the city, and the city's not out any money, but they're getting money, revenue out of it. So I think that's what he may have overheard in one of the meetings. That was one of the things on the table. There were several things on the table. But in the end, the last thing standing was the paid parking. That's without touching the budget, the general fund of the budget. So that's, I think that's what you're asking, right?
it is, paid parking, and you've looked at all the other possibilities that are out there. No taxes, that's been ruled out. Marijuana tax been ruled out. Is there anything else that's been ruled out, just so we can be transparent with this?
I don't remember anything right now, but.
Okay, so right now, we're at paid parking. I would ask the council, again, just to get to a status, is there any taste from any of you to look at the general fund and change out priorities based on that? Because I'm trying to nail it down from an operational standpoint, is that something you would consider, or you simply are not interested in that and we can rule that out as well? Or is that something that you would consider?
It's always a possibility, but I'd have to have some really list of what the heck you're talking about, because you're talking about robbing Peter to pay Paul. And I have a problem with that. You know, it's kind of like taking it out of the city budget is the same as taking it out of the citizens' pockets, because that's tax dollars also. So you're in a situation to where you need additional money to be able to operate the pool, and knowing that the summer that we're going to have as far as tourism, because of water and the cost of gas and everything else, if we're talking about that 300,000, which I realize is not for a couple of years or whatever, but you're still starting to earmark that, then I want to see a very specific list of where you're going to rob that money from.
So I'm taking that as a yes, that you would be willing to have that discussion if you see specifics.
I'm open to anything.
Okay.
I'm open to anything in that respect, but I do want specifics because that's only fair for the rest of the budget.
I understand. I get it. But if it is truly a priority for this community to have a pool, then the council, and it's you folks that have the decision, I think have to decide, is that enough of a priority that we're willing to shift some things around in the budget to do that? And for instance, as an example, in the clock tower, we're going to spend $600,000 on the clock tower from the resources that the bridge provides. Is that something on a consistent basis we're willing to tap into to do this? So we've got revenue streams. I think, Ryan, the budget is $74 million. I realize that not all of that is available for that, but one person, and I can't remember, you may be sitting in the audience right now, got up at the podium the other day and said 60 cents out of every dollar. If we can find that, we can fund the pool. And I don't know, 60 cents out of, excuse me, every $100. You are correct. Right, thank you for that clarification. So 60 cents out of every $100. So again, this becomes a priority issue. If we've got consensus on where we're at with the build, can we get consensus on the operational side? And again, I'm throwing it out, and I'd like, again, some other council members to, are you open to looking at the general fund, or we simply are going to write that off and we need to put all of our eggs on the parking meter concept and see if that's going to go?
Thank you. Similar to Councilmember Worthington, let's look at everything. I would ask that we look at it at the same time. Is that a specific list that you could come up with as to where, on a regular, annual, ongoing basis? Unfortunately, the Clock Tower Plaza is a capital project, so
I understand.
it's a one-shot thing. For the June 1st meeting, could you bring a list of where you would propose that we trim the 300,000 from?
And how many years will that carry over?
If the council is asking me to do that, I will be happy to do that. And
I mean,
absolutely.
this is your proposal, right? That
Yeah,
it come
yeah,
from
what
the
I'm-
city budget. So
what
I'd
I'm
like
after
to
is, again,
the
a status.
specifics
What I'm
of
after
where
is
it
a
would
s-
come from.
Yeah, I'm sorry we're stepping on each other, but what I'm after is a status. Again, we've got it locked in on the side of the build. We're looking at the operational dollars, and what has been proposed and made reference to in the letter from the rec district is focused on parking meters. I'm not a fan of that. What I am a fan of is priorities, and if a pool is something we want to have for this community, that we look at our $74 million budget and see if we can find the 60 cents out of every $100.
I think the challenge with 60 cents out of every $100 is that the vast majority of the city budget is individual salaries of people who work for the city. So if you were to literally take 60 cents out of every $100, you would be asking for pay cuts for city staff.
Not
which-
pay cuts. Again, I'm asking for priorities. If the council is willing to take a look at that. Jerry?
I'm happy to look at it also, but I don't think that's a guarantee going forward for 25 years, because a new council could come in and change that. So that might be an issue. I'm saying if we created a line item for pool operations out of the city budget, that budget can change down the road.
I understand. But is the parking meters any more of a secure thing dealing with tourism, such that any bonding company would actually allow for a bond based on tourism up, tourism down? Thoughts on that?
We asked that question to the bonding underwriters, and they said if we had a firm commitment from the city that they would appropriate these funds, even subject to the annual appropriation, that would be sufficient enough for us to get the bonding capacity we need at a high enough investable grade bond.
Did you have an idea of how much that commitment needs to be?
The $500,000, just for round numbers, is the number that we've been using in all of our conversations.
Okay, so you're looking for a commitment from the city, and then the city would have other alternatives. If Dwayne is listening, he gets after me about this stuff, but we met with the county yesterday and asked them if they would have any interest in committing resources from the county, and the answer was no, that they are not interested. And those who were at that meeting, you can verify that that was the county's position. They can explain that for themselves, but there is no resources coming from the county at this point. Is that accurate? Okay. So any other council members want to address in dealing with the general fund, if that's something that you're willing to take a look at? Now the number is not 300, the number is 500 that we're looking at. And I think, again, from an operational, just to get to status, you were looking for a commitment from the city of $500,000 that the bonding people would be agreeing to, that that's sufficient enough to move forward. And then we can supplement that on other ways that we might create revenue. But that commitment needs to be coming from the city government. It's not based on, we're going to do parking meters, and it may be good and it may not be good. Is that correct?
For easy round numbers, and the numbers that were shared in the pro forma with everybody, we were looking at $1 million in annual expenses.
For operational.
For operational, $500,000 in cost recovery, targeting that 50% cost recovery, hoping that we could get more in revenue each year. But for a conservative estimate, those were the numbers that we've used and that we were targeting in all of our conversations.
Is there anyone that would dispute the fact that on the operational side, we need $500,000 on an ongoing basis so we get to status? Status has been laid out by Kyle and the attorney, and are we there for that?
Just for clarity's sake, and
Yep.
please correct me, Rec Board, if I am not understanding correctly. I believe that the Rec Board had pledged 70,000 of the 500,000.
I would say we have not formally pledged anything
Okay.
because we haven't gotten to that point in the conversation. Historically, there were funds being subsidized of the previous pool that we would be happy to take a look at and commit the same type of resources we were doing before, but we obviously hadn't gotten far enough in the process to make a firm commitment as a board.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir?
So that 500,000 that I mentioned was an estimate before inflation. So like I said, the cost of the pool's gone up, the cost of inflation has gone up. That 500,000 is a random number out there, that it's going to be hit by inflation. So I just want to say that's
Right.
not a firm number.
Okay.
But that may be what the bonding company wants. But I'll remind you, when I first came on board as city council, I asked Kyle, do we have to build the pool exactly as it was presented to the public? Kyle, you told me, yes, it has to be presented. So I asked Ryan to set up a meeting with the rec district, the attorneys, and our attorneys, and the bonding entities, and we found out we could phase it in. We could do a phased-in approach. We could pull part of the bonds. We could separate those bonds if we needed to. So that piece about what we can build, that came from Dan, and our attorney, Corey, was there, Ryan, and the rest of the team.
Hey, Fred, I would say that the questions have been answered as to what can be built in the future, and I don't think we need to waste anybody else's time rehashing conversations that have happened in the past. I think that was the intent of the mayor. That was our intent coming here, to not relitigate what has happened. So I would prefer that we focus on a path moving forward.
Okay,
So-
well, I agree with that, but, as Sean said, he was looking for the plot. And what happened when I went to your board meeting, you were on vacation, and I asked up front, can we still build the pool with the bonds that we have? And We went through that. We're going to get back with us and give us some details. At the end of the meeting, Kyle said, end quote, "Don't shoot the messenger, but we can't build that pool today."
Okay. Now,
And wait, let me finish. And Sean, your statement of the shelf life of this pool is over, another quote. So that's what triggered me into saying something's wrong here. We need to look into this.
okay, and I would really like to not rehash the stuff. If I could keep us moving forward, I would like to do that. So if I'm understanding the status, and I'm looking for anybody to disagree on this, that as Kyle had spoke, that we're looking at some downsizing, but there's something that can be done. As Amy, Councilmember Schmischer had indicated, we're not willing to modify the intergovernmental agreement at this point, so there's going to be some vagaries out there, vagueness to the whole thing, and that you truly are looking for $500,000 from the city in one way or the other. And is anybody disputing that that is the status that is going on between us at this point? Okay, go ahead. Yes? Go ahead, Sean.
It seems to me that there still is confusion in the air.
On
It's
what point?
The point, I would say, from where I'm standing, I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to shape the conversation so that we can have clarity moving forward. What I'm seeing is that knowing where we're coming from, I don't think that we actually are standing upon clarity. And this is the clarity that I would be looking for. We went tonight, we're trying to say, okay, it is $500,000, and that is the operations fund that we would need if it were the exact same pool. That operating fund pro forma was designed for, the one from 2025. Now we know that it's possible that that exact same pool is going to have to shrink. So for me sitting here, I do want to at least have a little bit of conversation about, I don't think it's just about us, in a sneaky way, just saying, okay, well, let's just build a pool, the city can fund it, and then, whatever the voters thinks doesn't really matter, because in the end, Canyon City just needs the pool. But what I do think is that there's a route where, let's say that we can't afford, let's say that we take steps tonight and we figure out that we can't afford the pool, the indoor-outdoor facility as designed in and we have to run through this possible scenario. Let's say that we can't afford that pool. Is there a world where we say, is a seasonal pool worth pursuing? If it is pursuing, how much does it cost to operate it? Is that something that we're interested in pursuing? Not as a community. And I think procedurally, what the rec district has always done is survey the voters to try and take the temperature in the room, given where we're at. And none of this is perfect and ideal. Like, this is not a fun thing to do. And I'm not a pool at any cost guy. But I do think that before we just say $500,000, case closed, that number is tied to a pool that we may not be able to build.
So I'm in total agreement with you. What I think you're doing is laying out the second step, which is the options.
Yeah.
So we can vary off from that. What I am trying to get is, that's the status as far as we understand. Now, you threw out option number one as far as I'm concerned,
Gotcha, okay.
which is a downsized situation. So if you could give that more clarity, and somebody is taking notes, so we have that, and we're going to come up with, I think, 2, 3, 4 options, and then that's when I'd like the citizens, based on that, to give us their feedback, the ones who are here, and then we'll bring it back up here and make a decision. So option number one, Sean, please throw that out.
Okay, appreciate it. And I think this also gives clarity to our process over the last several months. The March meeting that Fred brought up, where there was real discussion around, I would say like clear-eyed discussion around what kind of pool can we actually build, and without having all of the legwork done by a qualified general contractor and architect that we've been working with, we can say it's certainly a possibility that we can't build that pool. However, we still have voter-approved funds for a pool, without taking the liberties of saying, well, now we're just going to do whatever kind of pool we want and the city's going to pay for the operating funds, one possibility would be a seasonal pool. And that seasonal pool could look like 2 bodies of water. You would have a lap pool, and then you would also have, what do you call it? A leisure pool. Yeah, I'm not super refined when it comes to terminology, but a leisure pool, which would include a lot of the things that were in the previous designs. But that would just be 4 to 5 months out of the year. It would be in the same location, and it would cost significantly less to operate because instead of having to staff a pool and pay for utilities 12 months out of the year, you're just having to, like the Ichabone pool, run that pool 4 to 5 months. So that's significantly less. It might not be half, but it's significantly less. And we don't have the pro forma, they would have to do that, but it's way less.
So I have as option number 1, seasonal pool, open 4 to 5 months out of the year is a possibility on navigating this. And again, citizens, you're going to get a chance to address this and we'll figure it out. Is there another option that somebody wants to throw out, either with the status that is there or something we haven't thought about? Councilmember Schmisser.
Thanks, and you're welcome to call me Amy.
Okay. I do that offline, but
Okay. I would say the current status, which is the, moving forward with getting a new design if we are able to find additional funds within the city budget or through a new revenue source.
okay. So option number 2 is current status, just as we've laid it out, and finding the 500 as well. So Kathy, clarification or
Yeah.
another option?
Is it possible, or has it even had the chance of being proposed, if you talk about the seasonal pool, can it be added on later, or is that something that is not designable, so to speak?
Are you talking about phasing it?
Phasing.
Yeah, phasing it,
Okay.
basically.
We asked that specific question of BRS and GH VIPS. They told us that we could not come up with a worse idea.
What's the reason for that?
You were on a very small site to begin with, and you were basically going to have to shut down the existing facility just to continue on with the new facility, and you're going to have to redo a lot of the work that is already there. So you may have to rip something out, add it in. They said it is not uncommon for rec centers potentially to be phased in. However, that normally comes with a plan in which to phase it in, and normally on a large site, and they're able to make it work. This is on a much smaller site, and you are looking at a very capital cost prohibitive project. You're going to spend millions of dollars more than you should. Pools, when they are built, are normally built one time. You have one shot, you do it, you get it done, you're in, you're out. That's it.
Is there an opportunity, and again, I'm talking about options, is there an opportunity to change locations?
No, based on the ballot language, it has to be on property owned by the school district. That would be a Tabor violation.
Okay, so we can rule that out, okay? Is there an option to redo the pool that is currently there?
Are you talking about rebuilding the existing pool or
Yes,
repairing
there are
it? What are you
many
referring
There are many
to?
people who have indicated, and I hear it out in the weeds and even on Facebook, Sean, that can we just build what is there? And again, I am throwing out options. So I'm not advocating
So-
anything, I'm throwing out an option. Is that viable for this community to rebuild or take Inkabod and move it forward? Inkabone.
So going with the exact same shape, redoing it, wiping out the building, pulling out the concrete, doing everything, starting over and putting a 60s L-shaped pool in, going from there. That's what you're referring to.
Recreating that pool, is that an option?
It is an option. From a cost recovery and a program standpoint, it's a very bad option.
I want public, but is it an option based on what we've done? And Dan, I would ask you again, is that an option based on what the citizens have passed, or is there limitations because of that?
There wouldn't be any legal limitations to that, no.
Okay. So it is an option. It may be a costly option, it may be a bad idea,
It's-
but it is an option.
So what you're doing is by considering that option, you're literally going backwards. Pools are not built like that anymore.
Again, you're on the advocacy side of the fence, and I'm wanting to
No,
just...
I'm on the factual operations side of the fence because my job as the executive director is to come up with a pool that is going to serve the public, have better cost recovery options, and have better programming needs to better serve the public. What you are asking us to do
I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm putting out options.
go back.
No, I'm not.
It may be an option, but again, I would say it's a very bad option from
And there may
numerous
be no one
standpoints.
who even advocates for that. But again, the question, it is in the public domain as far as people stating that. And just to throw it out, and at the end of the night, we may all agree that is clearly not an option, and we can make that decision.
Okay.
But I know that it is out there, and I'm just simply not even advocating for it. I'm simply putting it out as an option as far as recreating the original pool. Any other options?
I got a question on that.
Yes, fire away.
If we were to make that bad idea, wouldn't we have to build parking for that? It triggers codes and stuff, right? We can't just rebuild that place. We have to now provide parking. We have to do a whole bunch of other stuff. It's triggered code, right?
There are a lot of code issues, and if you want to get into the specifics of what that actually looks like from a pool-related business, we do have the engineer on the project on the line.
No, I think, again, I'd like to hear from the citizens first, if they even, there may be not one citizen who says that's a good idea, okay? So it's simply an option.
There's one other
there's one
option
more
you
option.
haven't brought up.
What would
and
that be?
That is an
Indoor
indoor-only
pool,
option.
yeah. Just indoor, not seasonal.
Sean, yours was an outdoor? Okay, so the other one, option 4 is indoor. Yes, please, if you've got one. I'm at option 1, seasonal pool, 5 months out of the year. Option 2, current status, which is you. Option 3 is recreating the pool.
Option
and-
3 was Kathy's, the phased approach. It may
Oh,
cost
okay, I
more,
didn't
but
put
it
that down
is.
because I thought they killed that, but phased approach, you want that as option 4? Okay, option 4 is phased approach, and option 5 was indoor only. Okay, any other options? Yes, Sean?
No pool.
That's a legitimate one.
Yeah.
No pool.
Not an option.
It's in the public domain, so.
No, I think as we're looking at this, and because we're going to get people on the other side that says 2 of 3 of these passed. The one that passed, you guys take it how it is. It didn't pass, leave it alone, and drop that. I mean, so we got to be conscious of that as well. I'm going to say this right out. I'm full in favor of getting a pool. It drives me bonkers that my son doesn't have a place to swim in this town. It drives me bonkers. I take him to a private pool at somebody's house. And I did take him to Ichabod and gave him swim lessons there. And it's a small pool, and it was packed. And it was absolutely packed. And did the kid get to swim that much? No, because it's too big. Does this town need a bigger pool and something like that? Absolutely. But I'm going to say, we got to be conscious of what got voted on. But we can still make that decision to fund, absolutely. That's at council's discretion there. But I just want to make sure that we say that, and just so everybody is aware, we got to keep that kind of in the back there, but thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Option number 1 is a seasonal pool, 5 months. And Dan, I would ask at the end of when I rattle these off, if are any of them prohibitive from what has been passed by the citizens at this point. So seasonal pool, 5 months. Option 2 is the current status, and we find the 500,000 potentially with the budget or some other solution. Option number 3 is recreating the pool. Option number 4 is a phased approach to that. We build now and look at a phased in the future. Option number 5 is simply an indoor pool, and option number 6 is no pool. Is there anything that I rattled off that could not be funded by what the citizens have passed?
I think well, first of all, I need to emphasize, you're asking me questions. I represent the Recreation District. I don't represent the city, and I feel like I just have to say that because it needs to be said
Yep, I appreciate
out loud.
that.
I apologize.
We understand that.
I think the phased approach might be a problem with how the bonds work over the period of bonds that have been authorized. I'm not sure that, and this might be getting into the wisdom of it versus the legality of it, but I don't know how that would work in terms of issuing, we would be issuing bonds for less than the full amount, the full duration of the bonds if it was a phased approach, I would think.
Hey,
Okay.
Dan, I would answer that question with what the bond underwriters told me when we had the conversation, that the phased approach would have a very negative impact on the bond rating because of the uncertainty of when that next phase would happen and the sales tax sunsetting after 25 years.
Kathy, are you okay with removing the phased approach? Okay, so we're down to 5. Again, I'm going to repeat them, and then I'm going to start this process with hearing from the citizens. So option number 1, seasonal pool, 5 months open, outdoor. Option number 2, current status, we're going to keep plowing forward. Option number 3 is recreating the pool that exists there. Option number, the other one is 4 now, indoor pool, and the last one is no pool. So what I'd like to do is give citizens a chance to speak, and then for those who are up here, I think it's coming to some conclusion tonight on a path forward that we are all in consensus with, that we have the trust that is reestablished, Sean, that you are concerned about, and we get a common message as far as where we're going to go. But citizens, your input is absolutely important, and if you want to speak, you need to fill out one of these, which I think people are going forward to. And right at the moment, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these that are there. And Chris Moffett, if you would come on up as the first one. And Chris, I want to thank RG Rio for the cleaning up of the river on Sunday. If you could just take 1 minute for doing that, I appreciate you guys doing that, so thank you. So let's give me 1 minute of how that went and what happened, and then you can fire away at what you want to do.
Okay, the river cleanup went fantastic. We had 60 volunteers get together and we don't have the numbers back yet, but we did quite a number on the dumpster that Twin Enviro donated to us. It was a great afternoon. I'm so in pool mode right now. I'm like, oh yeah, the river cleanup. But we had boats on the Bighorn, the Royal Gorge, through town, and through Florence, and all those boats picked trash up directly out of the river.
It's fantastic.
So that's the difference of our cleanup versus the other cleanups that might hit the highway or whatever. So, but it takes the whole town, and every cleanup's important, and everyone's always getting trash, which is very disappointing. But hey, we are going to do a second cleanup next September as well. Pizza Madness paid for lunch, so you guys should always come down. They get us, yep.
Beth is in here, so.
Oh yeah, there you go. Hey, free lunch every time. Well, I don't know. I'll have to ask her next time. But yeah, a lot of good sponsors and a lot of good help with that. So thank you for acknowledging that. Also, yes, Amy?
I was just going to say, I got to attend the surfboard unveiling, and if you wanted to talk about the Ashton Welch, I think it was our first Public Art Committee sanctioned project, and it was a really touching and moving ceremony. You and Martin and everyone who spoke did a great job. But
Thank
please.
you. Yes, we also unveiled artwork down at the Surf Wave. Definitely go check it out.
Yep.
And so on that, I can roll right into that because this kind of ties in. I'm Chris Moffett with Royal Gorge Rio.
Can I interrupt you just for 1 second? I do, because of the amounts, and I see there's more coming, if we could all keep it within 3 to 4 minutes, I would appreciate that. So thank you.
I will keep it short. We are Canyon City's river-based 501c3, and this year we found out that Kids Club is the rec district's summer care program, and they do after-school care, was only able to take the kids swimming in Kids Club twice. So that's a program that typically serves underserved students, and due to the budget of getting kids to the Florence pool, they could only afford to do it twice. Royal Gorge Rio pitched this idea to the Royal Gorge Whitewater Festival Committee, that's Fremont Community Foundation and the Royal Gorge Chamber Alliance, and we all agreed to throw $2,000 of our money to the Kids Club so that Kids Club could go to the pool 4 times this year. And, you know, it might not be a whole bunch, but to those kids, that are there all day because their parents have to work. This is the way it has to be. They used to go to the pool at least once a week, and that is because the pool was just down the road from 4 times a week? Okay, so tons of times a week. So we're going from a community of kids that swim all the time to now they're going twice a year. You know, Fremont County is a historically underserved community. I know I don't need to tell you that. But what I do need to say is we need a pool, and we are 93% of the way there. All we need to do is find some funding for operations. I know y'all can do it. It's up to City Council to do this. We can do it. Let's not be like the Broncos last year and break our ankle in overtime and not make it to the Super Bowl, because we know we would have beat the Patriots, okay? So I know you can do it. I believe in you. My suggestion is get rid of the flock cameras, and that'll save us like $30,000 a year. So there you go. Thank you very much. I appreciate all the hard work y'all are doing.
So on the budget, he just came up with $30,000 right there, so there we go. And I'm not being just about that. I kind of agree with you on it, so. Okay, Beth Gaffney.
I'm going to be brief, and I apologize. I was going to go to yoga, but this is so important that I decided to stay.
Bring that mic down to you.
So
Thank you.
sorry. So again, I spoke last time, and I'm speaking again. I've spoken with the rec board. And first of all, I want to say how much I appreciate each one of you, because when there are misunderstandings and emotions and everybody's trying to do their best, it's really hard to get together and sit face to face and let bygones be bygones and go forward. So thank you all for doing that. I appreciate your professionalism and desire to work together. That being said, again, I would like to say, operationally, we've got 3 years to get it figured out. I think if you go to every department head and say 60 cents out of every $100, I know I'm repeating myself, but I think it's important, 60 cents. There's people who will retire. There's new people who will come that will be less, you will pay less than the ones who leave. There's a lot of ways to find that 60 cents. Secondly, if that's not an option, I don't see parking fees as a tax. They're usage fees. People do not have to park in those paid spots. I can shop at the dollar store and pay tax on $10. Or I can shop at one of the more expensive stores in town and pay a lot more taxes because of the amount I spent. That's my choice. I don't have to park in those paid parking spots. I can choose to walk. So when someone tells me it's a tax, it is not. It's a choice. We choose all the time. You can choose to pay or you can choose not to pay. It's all good. There's something for each person. I'd like you to consider that and quit calling it a tax. It's a usage fee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dan Francis. Welcome, Dan.
Thanks. I was at the rec meeting as well. I'm pretty much just going to say about the same thing I said there. So I'm trying to manage this all by saying that I think that this initially, I'm for the pool, but I think this all initially started with some things that weren't probably accurate from going forward. That's that the school has to own the property where this pool is going to be at. That property is only so big, and so it only allows a certain building and pool to be there. The pool cost $100,000, so I'm back up. I'm going to build a house here, but I don't have the money to pay for the electric and the utilities and all the things that's going to go in it. And that's what you guys are building here. You're building a pool, but the cost is not $500,000. The cost is $1 million a year to operate the pool. Don't let anyone tell you it's any different. It's $1 million in this, and you're hoping that you get $500,000 of that from 200 people a day that are going to come in the door and go swimming. If you downsize it, You're not getting that. I don't understand why, as a city and a community, we are building a building that is not self-sufficient. I gave a proposal at one of the meetings for $16 million for a pool, indoor, outdoor, an outdoor swim-along pool, or I forget which, lazy river, another small pool, a restaurant, the racket, I forget, the cricket, not cricket, but anyway, some indoor sports, some activities for the recreational center. Half the cost, almost, of what you guys got. I don't understand where we're spending $25 million for a building that's not going to house everything that we need and is not self-sufficient. I don't care if you've got people that you've been working with for the last X amount of years. It's out there. I'm building a 100,000 square foot facility in Missouri. It has everything, a restaurant, basketball, soccer. They want soccer in that particular area. And it's for half the cost that you guys are spending to get this on a small piece of ground. You're not even bringing in any of the other community. You're not bringing in the food trucks. You're not bringing in any outside areas that can be rented for entertainments, birthday parties. There's so much more that you guys could do as a city. You just got yourself in this hole that we got this one piece of property that has to go on, or we fix the old one, and there's a way to move around it. I mean, there just has to be a better way to make the city better for everybody. This cannot be the group that makes the decision for the next 75 years if this is your decision. I just think it's I think you guys got in a poor spot, and it needs to be looked at differently. I'm all for the pool, but not on the school grounds. It's not big enough and not sufficient enough for the city to grow from. And I completely disagree because we're doing it where you can't build part of the pool, come back later and cover it, and you can do different things. And I don't care, Kyle, if it's Colorado or Missouri. It's the same kind of pool, same kind of ground. We're good to go. But anyway, that's my point. I'm all for the pool. If I can help, I'm offer that up multiple times to the committees and the people. But this is absolutely getting so crazy. It's frustrating. So. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan.
Questions for me?
We're good. No, I'm going to keep rolling and get everyone a chance to talk. So, Mark Sindler, did I get that right? Yeah. Welcome, Mark.
So I think that there's people in the room who have done way more than or no more than I do, especially these ladies in the back. But one of the points that my friend Mike Banker, along with these people, have looked into is there's a lot of potential money for, capital building where, whatever we were able to put out for building the pool, at that point, then you can start soliciting donations and corporations and things, and they can sometimes pay for individual features which, the community, we can no longer afford because of the inflation. But all those things that you mentioned that are out, at least my understanding is they're not out. It depends on whether or not you can go around the, our community and other big sort of industrial places that have money available, and some of those things can get put back into the pool if you have that kind of funding, and that, of course, wouldn't have anything to do with the logistics of funding managing the pool. It's capital investments. Has that not been discussed? Because that was a big discussion amongst the people who were interested in the pool, and I didn't hear one word about that in the proposals.
Okay, I'll allow for a limited response to that. Has that kind of thing been discussed? And if you can keep it short, because I want to get through the list of citizens.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Mark. Tonight was really just focused on the operations and maintenance because that's where we have the gap. We do have the capital coming in currently from the sales tax. There is a 501c3 that has been established that is very happy to take donations related to the pool. So anyone who is interested in making a donation to the pool fund is absolutely welcome to do so. I would imagine once we have a way forward on the operations and maintenance, at that point, if we at some point have a way forward on the operations and maintenance, I would imagine, though I don't want to speak for the rec district, that they would then be very willing to talk to folks who are open to writing grants and things like that, to perhaps get a GOCO slide in or get other funding in for additional capital investments.
My understanding is that's not like a bake sale. I mean, it's a lot of money, millions of dollars potentially for doing some of the things that, we're thinking, because I think it makes a big difference to the public, because if you start to get bare bones, it just loses a lot of its appeal. And if it's, no, that's not necessarily true, there are, groups out there that absolutely could donate significant amount of money to restore some of these things that people want.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll talk more about that with the phase, and I appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much. Is it Jeannie Clark? Did I get that right? Did I get your first name right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Jeannie.
Yes, I'm Jeannie Clark, and I've been born and raised in Canyon City. And I went to a program today by the River Group, and I didn't realize, but they're talking about teaching kids to swim in the Arkansas. And I think that's crazy. I know too many people that have drowned in that river. And I'm really against that. I think you should go back to the train guy. He doesn't want to do the excise tax thing. He doesn't want to pay for parking. Go back and say, put your money where your mouth is. Come on, help us. That kind of goes back to what Mark was just saying. That guy has money, and there's some money around. You just have to do it. I grew up here when we didn't have a pool, and my kids spent almost every day at this pool in the summertime after Ichabod was built. So there's got to be a way.
Thank you, Jeannie. Appreciate it. Mike Strica. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their evening to be here, Rec District Board, staff, councilmen. I'm going to be devil's advocate. In 1965, Dr. Ichabod saw a need for a swimming pool, and the Rec District was formed with one purpose: to build and operate a municipal swimming pool. I do not believe it's the city of Canyon City's responsibility to take money out of their budgets and roads and police and everything else to put money to a swimming pool. Yes, we need a swimming pool. It's been said that there wasn't a specific plan for the pool presented. There was numerous times pictures on media, whether it be newspaper, social media, before the election in '24, gave a picture of a pool, a specific pool. So yes, legally you may be able to downsize. Morally, I don't think you can. And at this point, I want to say the pool, as presented, as voted on by the people, is a dead issue. It cannot be built as pictured in the paper and other sources for the $24.8 million. You say it can be downsized. As a voter, I say no. I voted on a picture. The parking meters, Mr. Mayor, meters was never proposed. Parking meters downtown were never proposed. I brought the proposal to the committee of one lot. There's possibly 2 or 3 other lots that can be implemented. The one lot is one that's used by the patrons of the train. It's not a target of the train, but you pay for parking any place you go. Downtown Colorado Springs has parking meters. Event centers around Colorado Springs have paid parking. You pay for a parking spot at a hotel in the Denver area now, along with a resort fee. It's a fee, it's not a tax. Conservative numbers that I came up with for that lot annually were $438,000. At one of our pool subcommittee meetings, a rec district board member indicated that the rec district could probably continue the $50,000 that they'd been paying for the operations of the old pool, plus $20,000 in conservation trust money. The city has committed $20,000, and so is the county in conservation trust fund, informally, but at the committee meetings. That's $548,000, and those are very conservative numbers on the parking. And that was numbers off of one lot. Again, I don't see what the rec district has done for the last 15 years, 10, 15, 20 years, knowing that the pool was failing, to try to come up with a plan to replace it, other than going to the taxpayers for a bond issue. And finally getting that approval from the voters for a specific plan, but not the operations of it. I think the voters said, rec district, you were in charge of that, find a way. The city has tried to help, but at this point in time, I don't see the rec district doing what they were supposed to do.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Mike. Jessica Hughes. Welcome, Jessica.
I prepared a speech before this meeting tonight, but I would still like to present it as I've written it. I'm concerned about the financial stability of our community and the long-term impact of decisions being made on behalf of our families. And tonight, we're talking about the pool proposal. First, I want to ask, why are we being pushed with the $25 million aquatic facility when our town is already struggling to maintain basic infrastructure? Who decided this was the only option? And why is this specific design being treated as if it's non-negotiable? Second, what is the projected annual operating cost of this facility? Because similar aquatic centers in Colorado cost $1.5 to $2.5 million per year to operate. That means we would need hundreds of paying visitors every single day just to break even, not counting possible interest, repairs, staffing shortages, or seasonal fluctuations. This town cannot support that. Citizens want a pool, but some don't understand this cost, and everyone here is going to pay that price. Third, why are we not openly discussing
Young lady,
alternatives?
I'm going to ask you to slow down. I'm old, and I have
sorry.
hearing aids, and I'm not quite catching everything, so
Okay.
humor me.
Okay. Third, why are we not openly discussing alternatives? Other Colorado communities have built or maintained aquatic facilities in a fraction of the cost being proposed here. A standard community pool, the kind that most towns our size operate, typically costs $200,000 to $500,000 to build, and even with a full 50-meter lap pool averaging around $425,000. Colorado pool builders report that the basic in-ground pool construction starts around $38,000 to $50,000, which shows that the cost per square foot of pool construction in our state does not justify a $25 million price tag unless we're intentionally choosing the most expensive possible design. Meanwhile, Pueblo West, a larger, wealthier, high-traffic community, has struggled for years to keep their aquatic center profitable. If they can't sustain a large facility, how can Canyon City be expected to? And here at home, our own election results prove the same point. Voters approved the construction funding but rejected the operating tax, leaving us with a facility we can't afford to run. Other cities have used smaller scale designs, phase development, or public-private partnerships to avoid massive upfront spending and long-term operating deficits. These models reduce taxpayer burden, lower annual operating costs, and allow communities to grow their facilities responsibly over time. Why aren't these options being presented to the public with the same enthusiasm as this single extremely expensive plan? If this project is truly in the best interest of the community, why isn't the community being shown all options? It leads me to believe that there is something more than just giving our community a pool, because it's kind of asinine and irresponsible. Can you please help me understand why this agenda is being pushed onto us as if we have no other options? Because clearly we have so many more viable options to provide this community with a pool. This is not, we are not for a pool. This is, we're not for the specific pool. I am here to ask you to help stop pushing the single extremely expensive plan on our citizens when there are more affordable, sustainable, and community-supported options. We deserve transparency, we deserve comparisons, we deserve a plan that matches our population, our budget, and our long-term needs, not a project that puts us into debt and forces future tax increases. We are not going to fill this town with wealthy people by making it more difficult for our current citizens to be able to afford to live here. Families are already living with family, and we're just expected to pay more taxes to build something we can't afford nor sustain. Irresponsibly using finances this way will reap consequences that will drive the city into the ground further. Please reconsider the current proposal and open the door to a more responsible, community-driven solution. And I just wanted to add, you mentioned that it could only be built on school grounds, and I was just curious about the possibility of Madison School.
Okay. We will bring that up when we're discussing that. I'm writing that down, okay? Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Rick Stewart. You said Madison? Okay. Thank you.
Madison has been sold, I believe that is a private entity now, isn't it? That's where the dance hill is. I'm not sure, but I think that is privately owned. I don't believe the school district owns that property anymore. Not 100%, but I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Okay, Rick Stewart, thank you.
Good evening. Of course, you make me follow Jessica. That was so eloquent. My name is Rick Stewart. History, quick bio. I've been in the commercial aquatic industry since 1973. I was asked just a very simple question. Can this pool be rebuilt? The answer is, of course. The pool can be rebuilt, brought to current standards, both the bathing facility, the changing areas, the equipment can be brought up to not only current standards, but to state of the art. And the facility is run, I'm understanding, for 50 plus years. So the question is, why can't we just simply reface, repurpose what we have now that's worked for the last 50 years? I can tell you, I've personally worked with pools that were built much earlier than this one. One, in fact, in 1903. That pool is in private possession, but it's a for-hire pool, and that pool has run every year since 1903. They have much bigger issues than this pool has, and yet they find a way to make it work every year for the people of that community. So I would certainly entertain any questions with regards to updating, but without a question, it can definitely be rebuilt.
Thank you, Rick. That option is under our list, and if you would stay around, because we're going to try to come to some consensus here, and if people have questions at that point, we can do it.
I think element number 4 said indoor pool. There is no reason that you couldn't dome that pool. If anybody's driven up 115 past the Cheyenne Mountain complex, that dome has been in place for almost 35 years now. So,
okay,
definite option.
Thank you, Rick. Sandy Montague, right? Did I get that right? Thank you. Welcome, Sandy.
Hi, I'm Sandy Montague Wimmer, and I thought tonight was more going to be about the parking, and that was kind of what I was curious about. Definitely the pool, but I mean, if you guys haven't spelled out where the parking's going to be charged, and you know, we need river access for the boats coming out to take out at the train. That's one of our concerns, and the quilt shop is a very big concern for all the classes that they have, so they need to be able to park without being charged. The other thing is somebody, Jerry, I think you said 25 years for the commitment. I thought it was 50 years that you guys had to be a committed entity of the pool for funding. Is it 25?
Who can help us on that?
Ryan.
That is the commitment for the bond issue and the sales tax to repay the construction costs.
Okay.
As far as operations go, yes, you're talking about a 50 to 60-year facility, right?
Okay. Yeah. So it's got to be a commitment. Okay. And I was wondering if the train was still, if they're going to get charged for parking, are they still willing to do the $100 million or $100,000 a year for the, to fund the pool. My last question, when did the marijuana come off the table? Why isn't, I haven't been to some of these meetings, but I don't care if it's a small little tax. It's a tax. It's a income for the city. So I don't know why you guys said that was off the table. That's kind of interesting to me.
Just what I understand on that specific tax, I think it was passed in 2014 or 2015, if I recall, and it's for marijuana, and the city has never approved recreational marijuana.
You guys should bring that back to the table. I know it's been every meeting that I've come to, or a lot of them.
Ryan, clarification?
When it was approved by the voters, it was also approved for a specific use, which is to go to streets.
For what?
For streets.
for streets?
Road reconstruction.
Okay.
So it would have
Oh,
to
I
go
see.
back to the
Right.
voters to change the use.
Okay.
Well, you should think about that on the ballot.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Yep.
I don't partake, and thank
Sandy,
you, Jeremy.
we determined that it wasn't sufficient to pay for operations of the pool. It doesn't mean that we can't revisit it
Yeah.
for other reasons.
It's something. It brings in something. So, okay, thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Sandy.
Thanks for all your work.
We appreciate it. Rob Gilkerson. Welcome, Rob.
Hello. Thank you, Amy. Just a quick couple points here. Fully support Amy as far as status quo, as far as the pool. Clarification, I was a kids club counselor back in 2000, and at that time we went to the pool 4 times a week. One more thought that I'm sure Kyle can attest to is I believe in previous meetings that the only profitable pools in the state of Colorado are the water parks in Denver. All the rest are subsidized, correct?
For the public pools, yes, that is correct.
So are there any private pools that are profitable other than our water parks, or do we even know?
Well, we didn't look at the private pools because our focus was on a public pool because that's what we are, so we tried to stay in that lane. But the only two that are profitable are Water World and Pirates Cove.
And my point being, public pool needs to be subsidized. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rob. I'm going to get your last name wrong because I can't quite get it, but Alexis, and help me out. Enslow, thank you.
My iPad's going to die in like 4 seconds, and I wrote out a real quick speech, so.
All good. Welcome, Alexis.
I hope that it works. Okay. So my suggestion is option 2, and this is why.
Which is current status for those who haven't
Yeah.
kept track.
So I get the money piece, but you guys are stewards of the current community. But more importantly, you're stewards of the future generations. Kyle and the board has gone above and beyond to propose multiple options and has responded to every question proposed to him, whether on this plan or 4 other plans that were previously looked at. These conversations have been over the past 3 years, in reference to the lady that came up here and gave the lovely speech that made me write my speech. Kyle and the board and other people at the rec have had these conversations over and over and over. And it keeps coming back to the different things, and I get that. Mayor Lund, you ask how Canyon City moves forward together. In every one of your posts, you sign off, move Canyon City forward together. We can't please everybody, so who do we focus on? You focus on the children, because they're your future. They're this town's future. They are the future. Option 2 is the only option that can stand a chance to pay this community back any small amount. Pools, like just stated, they're inherently not money makers, but they are an investment. That investment, again, is on our kids and that future. My mother couldn't swim. She was terrified of water, and we moved to Colorado from Kansas. Not a whole lot of water there, except for crops, very different. She made sure we could swim. There were 3, myself and my 2 brothers. She made sure all of us could swim, so we never had that fear. And 2 of us ended up in the Coast Guard. The investment in our kids isn't just them. This is a basic life skill that every child should have. They should not fear water. They should not fear the river. But teaching them to swim in that river is a bad idea. And my iPad's at 4%. That's all I got.
Thank you very much. Tasha, are you interested? Okay. Tasha Abry. And Tasha is the last one, so if anybody else wants to speak, you need to fill out one of these forms. Other than that, this will be the last one for this evening.
Hi, Tasha Abry. I just wanted to say, like everyone else, thanks. I'm really glad the meeting got called. Thanks for everyone's time and attention and just everyone's investment and interest. I know we're all here for, the common interest and common good. My notes are really short. I just had one quick question, which I think could be answered right here. There's talk about the rebuild as an option, but because of the school property being, that was like the one thing in the bond measure, would that impact it? Okay, so it's just a moot. If it's a rebuild, it being on school property is no longer an issue.
No.
Go ahead.
As one of the council members pointed out, even a rebuild is going to require parking. That parking would extend onto the school district property.
Oh, okay.
Just as the current plan indicates. So
Okay.
I don't think that's a legal problem.
Okay, all right, I was just curious about that. And then my only other, this was just something as a member of the Finance, Budget, and Public Works Committee and Pool Subcommittee, I don't think we ever got an answer to this question, which may or may not be helpful if the city council is considering options beyond paid parking, and like in combination with looking at the city budget. But I don't think we ever answered the question on the amount that is currently being right now, the amount of sales tax on medical marijuana sales in town, city sales tax, what that amount is, what it's currently being allocated to, and if there is flexibility and jurisdiction in the city to raise and or change the allocation of that sales tax for medical marijuana sales. My understanding is that the city can set that amount, and I think also, have some say possibly with a vote about where that money would go. And then, sorry, I lost my train of thought. And that there's even possibly the option for additional taxes on medical cannabis, on medical marijuana sales in town. That would be at the purview of the city. So I just wanted to throw that out there as an option to look into, because I don't think it was something that we resolved or answered as a committee.
Thank you. I think, go ahead.
Tasha's on our special pool committee too, and she investigated and did a great job with the marijuana. So can you just sum that up for the lady that was before to ask the question?
Yeah, it was basically the city itself, whereas the county-wide, like the county population could support X number of facilities to make the money that would kind of be worthwhile. But the city can only support a small number of facilities, and being able to only support 1 or 2 facilities is not going to you're just not going to get the tax on those recreational sales, just won't equal enough to kind of compensate for the cost that would go into running the program. And then there was the other issue of the allocation already being toward roads, so that have to be voted on, and like it could possibly be increased, like it's 5%, now maybe it goes up to 10% or something, but even so, again, it was really just an issue of how many facilities the city could could kind of sustain from a viable business standpoint.
Okay. Ryan, you can surprise me. I don't believe we're collecting sales tax on medical, are we?
I believe there's general sales tax. We can't share that information because it's protected data from a sales
HIPAA.
tax standpoint, but it just goes into the general fund.
Okay, very good. Thank you, citizens, so much for doing that. I'd like to go into the next phase, which is we go into an advocacy phase, which is of the list of possibilities that we have, and with the known issues that we have, can we get to consensus out of these specific ones of where this group wants to go? And folks from the rest district, I'm viewing you as full partners in this discussion. So please do that. I'm going to list them one more time, and then we'll see if we can get to down to one. That would be perfect if we can do that. Option 1 is, again, the seasonal pool, open 4 to 5 months out of the year. Option 2 is the current status as we worked our way through that. Option number 3 is recreating the pool, which is what was advocated by one individual. Option 4 is indoor pool. And the last one is no pool. So those are the options. What say ye?
I think most of us, I mean, we're all in agreement on the path forward for 99% of the speaking points that we've gone over tonight. I think personally, I'm not going to say I'm in favor or not in favor of the paid parking. I think that is a good alternative. However, I would say that of the $74 million budget that the city has, I would love to see more options put on the table that they can look internally to come up with those funds. I think an important distinction, an important piece of clarification for a lot of the people that don't have the understanding that the rec district operates separately from the city is that our total budgeted expenditures are $2.3 million. So proportionately, we're looking at $500,000 over the $74 million of 0.67%, less than 1%. And as a proportionate share of our expenses, we'd be looking at a $15,000 thing to look at. With that being said, I hope that you guys can all take a hard look at the existing budget. And I would love to see the indoor-outdoor pool be explored further. And I would also like to say, like, we've been talking about this for 3 years now, and it feels like we're in a hamster wheel just running in the same circle over and over and over again. So I would like to leave this meeting with a firm deadline that if an option is not figured out by that point in time, that at that point we can abolish it and go back to the drawing board later in life, rather than continually spinning our wheels and talking about these different options.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, Cooper, you're advocating for basically continuing with option number 2. And do you have am I correct on that?
Yep.
Okay, and do you have a deadline that feels right to you? So you can put that out there.
I think the idea that the June 1st deadline that was thrown out originally, we were all in favor of. If an idea is presented by that point in time, we'd be looking at July, realistically, until we had some direction as a recreation district board, that timeline feels comfortable to me.
And we realize that if we do agree to the June 1st deadline, that we are basically indicating we're going to be collecting the tax until December 31st. That's part of it.
Yep.
Okay. Others?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Brian?
It's come up a couple of times. I want, for the community's sake, that there is some clarity around that $74 million budget. The $74 million budget is made up, and you referenced this a little bit earlier, it's made up of several different funds, including enterprise funds. Not all of those funds can be utilized for operations of a pool. They are dedicated funds for the purpose that they are set forward. So I just want to make sure that we're tempering the expectation of the community. We don't have a $74 million budget to pull from. It's based off of, we're looking at our general fund, we have our quality of life fund, and our parks fund. Those are the 3 funds that we could potentially pool operating funds from. So it's significantly smaller than $74 million.
Do you have a number of those?
I don't have that off the top of my head, no.
No range?
You're probably looking somewhere in the $20 million range.
Okay, very good. I do have one more person who wants to speak, just came in, and I'm going to allow that to happen. So Josh Airy, welcome.
Thank you. Apologies, I was watching kiddos until reinforcements came in.
Apologies accepted. Fire away.
Thank you, thank you. I wasn't even planning on speaking. I was just watching this on Facebook, and I wanted to just, I guess, voice my thoughts. I've been back in Canyon about 10 years and plan on staying here. We've had from marking about 10 years ago, when we did not get Pathfinder put through, we had the rec center fail, and now we have a pool that's being talked about as failing. It's extremely concerning for the future of Canyon. We need a win. The kids need a pool. The town needs a pool. You have families that want to be here. You have new businesses that are coming here. They're gonna look to hire people and retain their employees, and we have to have those basic amenities to help with that. It's grow or die, and I think there's a lot of that. It's what I've heard tonight. A lot of people, we want a pool, and we are so close. I gotta think that there is a way to maintain the status quo of the process. Number two, find the money somewhere for the operations. It shouldn't fall solely on the city, solely on the rec district, solely on the county, solely on the school board. But all of those entities can work together somehow and make it happen. I love the idea of I don't know if it's meters or if it's just an app that we use to use the city's assets to have out-of-town folks help with that. And I think it would be a very big mistake to kill this or look at an option that is going to put another 2, 3, 4 years behind us. So you have another 2, 3, 4 years of kids who don't get that. It's not just kids, it's the whole community. But I think it's just it's an obligation as a community that we need to figure out a way forward, how to come together and make it happen. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. So what I'm hearing is on the table right at the moment is option number 2 going forward. What I'm also hearing is that we really don't need to be talking about parking meters tonight because we need a commitment from the city as far as doing something. And the city can supplement that revenue stream or that option somehow. It's up to us to figure out. But that's not going to be working for the bonding people, and there would be a June 1st deadline of fish or cut bait at this point. So if I'm getting that right, does any other folks have something they want to advocate for based on what we've heard tonight?
I just want to clarify the parking meters. They're not parking meters, it's paid parking. And the reason I wanted to fast track that a little bit, we had new information that came out on the meters. And Ryan, if you can update us on that, please.
Yeah, what we're finding doing our research is that a lot of the communities and the parking solution providers, they're paying, the cost to operate these parking systems is about 30 to 40%. So we're still doing the due diligence. That's why we have until June 1st. But that's some of the initial information that we're getting back from some of the other communities like Manitou and Durango that run paid parking programs. Their programs are significantly larger than what we're looking at, so we don't know yet how that's going to affect the business model.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, go ahead, Sean.
Thanks. Just to continue to define, this is nice, the definition. Are, in the same way we're saying, tending towards option number 2, tonight, are we willing to say, at the exclusion of other options? For instance, if we can't clear that bar, are we going to pursue option 1, the seasonal option? I think it's a good time to either say, yes, we'll pursue it as a choose your own adventure after we don't clear the first bar, or no, we're not going to pursue it. And I think City Council has a lot to say. I know Jeremy came to our last meeting and spoke his own opinion, which was, I'm not for a seasonal option. And if it were a seasonal, if If the option were seasonal, then I would have not voted to continue the tax. So that type of conversation is also constructive. It's like, if we can take that off the table, or keep it on, it even gives more clarity in the future.
So what I'm hearing is if we went with option number 2, as it's been defined by Cooper, and we have a deadline of June 1st, and again, I'm viewing the budget, and I want to say something. I'd like to take the challenge of whatever that number is, Ryan, that there's a proposal that I could bring before the council as a non-voting member and suggest that you take a look at this and see if we can get there. And I'm not talking about parking meters or anything else, that's on the other side, but to have the council do a priority look by June 1st, and if you decide that, no, that's not going to work, then I think Sean's thought process of let's come up with alternative, because apparently I'm reading the tea leaves here that we're going to collect that tax until December 31st, would be my guess is where we're at, because we're going to go for June 31st. But let's put an alternative in place if, in fact, we can't get there. Is that would work for you?
Or not.
Or not. That would be just option number 5, which is no pool. Right. So, but can we get consensus on what that alternative would look like? Is it fish or cut bait time, or is there another option of the ones that we've indicated we could do? Yes. Melissa.
I think that answer is dependent upon what we can afford when we start moving forward. So, I mean, you might go down a list of we can afford this or this or this. We don't know the answer to a lot of that yet. But yeah, I guess either we move forward with 2 right now, or is it something that's palatable to move forward with? We just say nothing. Then it's either 2 or 0. Is that what you're asking, Sean? I don't know.
I think anyone can advocate for wherever they think they want to land at this point.
Yeah,
so.
and I'm not even saying anything. It's just what I'm trying to avoid is a pool at any cost feel. Like, it's just the conversation keeps going and going and going, and we don't even know where the reset button is. Yeah. We wouldn't even know what starting from the beginning looked like. It's like, so I'm just trying to give us a finish line to where if we clear the bar, we know where we're going. If the city finds the operating funds, we know where we're going. And if we don't clear the bar, we're either already saying that we're going to go after a seasonal pool, or we're saying, turn out the lights.
So I think the discussion right now is the alternative. So is it going with the outdoor pool, an indoor pool? And again, Dan, if my understanding of what you have told us is collecting of the tax, that all those options are available, Melissa, that we could afford, based on the tax that's being collected, to go just with an outdoor pool. And that we don't have to have any other votes of the council or the citizens or anything else. So if somebody wants to advocate that as the alternative or any other option, we can do that. Amy.
I think from my perspective, what I would want us to be able to tell you on June 1st would be not only, yes, we can commit to the $430,000 or however much it is, or, sorry, all that we were able to find or guarantee on an ongoing basis is $50,000. And then you as a board are like, okay, if we've got about 50 to 70 and they can chip in 50 a year, we have this much for O&M. And then take, I don't know, a month or 2 and come back to us, but it's got to be far enough in advance. Like I would say like August, so that we know, are we putting something on the ballot with regard to taking away the sales tax or not? But from my perspective, at least, like I wouldn't want us to say no pool, seasonal pool, indoor only pool, because to Melissa's point, we don't know what it is that we're going to be able to tell them on June 1.
Yeah.
But I do think that it is incumbent upon us to give you that information and then for you guys to digest it and have that conversation. And you're the rec district. It is your mandate, your mandate. So for you to come back to us and say, yes, we want your 50,000. No, we don't. We can't do this, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, my concern about that, Amy, is that we're dragging the citizens through indecision. And I know that it's stressful from all sides, and I would prefer that we do have a June 1st kind of deadline. And then if that doesn't work, can we come up with an alternative that says we can go, but we give urgency to the issue.
That's exactly what I just proposed, Phil.
is that
Well,
there
I
is
didn't
a
like the August thing. I'm just wondering again, can we get to,
that there is a June 1st deadline and that we give the rec district the clarity and the information about, are we moving forward with option 2? Or this is how much we can commit.
I think
But
what-
to Sean's point, we don't know, they don't know what information we're going to tell them on June 1st, right? So.
okay.
I see it as we give them June 1st, the operating money that the city can come up with. It's still their lane to decide what kind of pool to go for from there. That way we stay in each lane, and yet we're still communicating clearly to each other and helping each other as much as we possibly can. But the thing is not for us to tell you, you got to do this. Ours is to say, this is what we can offer you.
Are you guys satisfied with that? Does that work? How fast can, if we have a due June 1st deadline, would you have a deadline that we could put in there as well so the community again can know which way we're going to go? I think that's
I don't know the exact date of our June meeting, but I would say that this would be the top priority to get figured out at that meeting. If not, we could always call a special meeting if needed.
Well, but I think, I mean, I don't really know that the mayor's, I mean, what's the mayor's question? Is it, are we going to tell the board, okay, this is what we're going to build at that point? Because I don't know that without the experts working on a plan. I think what we can say is that the June meeting, the board would then be able to come up with a plan to propose to the,
Yeah.
to the city with respect to the funds that are being collected.
Here's what the mayor is talking about.
Okay.
I'm viewing our earlier conversation when we talked about the status, and we were comfortable with that. That's option number 2, is to keep moving forward. I understand from Kyle that there's going to be shrinkage. And so maybe we don't know exactly what that looks like, but we are saying that we're going to go forward with that. You'll have to have the experts involved likely to do that, but we're staying within that budget. We're going for that as much as we possibly can, if in fact that funding mechanism is there for the operational. That's what I have in mind.
And what I'm trying to, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't think it's the board would have the capacity as of the June meeting to tell you, okay, here's when we're going to have an answer for you, because.
Oh, I'm not expecting
because
that.
the board will just be directing the experts at that point.
Not expecting that,
Okay.
but there will be a go-forward position as opposed to it's dead.
Mayor, 2 things.
Yes, sir.
Kathy had a great idea, is on May 7th, we'll have a finance, budget, public works, which includes our pool committee meeting, 3:45. And she had the great idea, splendid idea of inviting, say, Sean from the board to attend that. It's a public meeting, so that'd be great. I mean, talk about communication, being on the same page, we'll be talking about all this. So if you can make that, that'd be fantastic. The second thing is, it was mentioned by the rec district of doing a survey to the people after we have that idea, and the people would, of the citizens of Canyon City, would be able to fill out that survey somehow of what type of pool they'd be acceptable to.
Yeah, if we went that route, that we were talking about potentially downsizing or going to a seasonal facility, we would like to make an informed decision and have input from the community, because they could ultimately say, no, we're not interested in this option, or yes, we would like to move forward with that. And we've looked at survey options that would be limited to geofencing, that would only allow people within the community to fill out that survey and make those decisions.
Again, I think the June 1st deadline, though, could be part of that. I'd like to be tasked with coming up with a plan for that budget and to get it to you folks who have the voting options to see if we can get there with that plan so that we have a June 1st kind of deadline that we can get there. And I think that's a good one. And
I think you'd have to work with the committee. Amy is sort of the lead on the budget piece of it.
No, there's a difference there. Amy is focused, I think, on the pool side of the budget as opposed to, I'm talking about the general fund. And to review that and to come up with a specific plan, I'll be certainly working with the city administrator to do that. It's not independent. He would be completely involved with those discussions, but to have a strategic focus of what can we absolutely, you probably have options, A, B, C, but I think focusing on the parking is not our solution. The commitment, because of the bond people, is to come up with a plan that the city's willing to commit to for a long period of time, and if those monies are there. And again, working with the city administrator. I don't want to task it that it's a real big challenge. I think the more we can make this very specific and then keep you guys, because Ryan can't vote and I cannot vote. We keep it so that it's presented to the voters of the city council, and we go from there. Yes, Amy.
Thank you, that sounds wonderful. Could I ask that we ensure that that's included in our agenda packet for June 1st, just so that we have time to digest it before the meeting?
Oh, absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Is there consensus on that? Is anyone saying that they don't want to see it go that way? Okay. Is there an alternative that we can throw out there if, in fact, that monies doesn't go through? Or is that something you want to go with the survey for the community? Or is that where you guys are landing? Because it would fall on your shoulders. It would not fall on ours. Sean?
It sounds like in the order of operations tonight, we're not going to take anything off the table. But if we come back in the June council meeting and the conclusion is that, let's say the city can comfortably come up with $150,000 or can commit to that, then the decision would be upon us. But to be clear, that means that when that number is proposed, please let us know if that's attached to a specific design. That matters. Because when, Jeremy, because you made a great point. You came to the last meeting and said, well, this is how I would have voted if I knew this. So just make it clear, because that is in your lane. As Kathy said, like that is something that we need to know, because that's the context. You know, that allows us all to decision make.
Okay. I do want to advocate one thing before we wrap this up. I think we've got some consensus as far as where we're going. One more thing. We are not planning on having an emergency ordinance on the May 4th meeting to end the tax. Is that where everyone is at? Okay, so I see that, and the citizens, that's where we're at on that specific thing. I have been advocating, and I'm going to continue to advocate, a pro-growth agenda. What I think we need to be doing is we've got 15, 16 vacancies on the downtown that we're not collecting sales tax, and that would help us a lot if we have an aggressive growth may not be the right word, pro-vitality kind of agenda, and so I'm not even expecting a response, but I do think there's a side of us that says, let's make our pie bigger as far as the revenue stream that is coming into the city coffers, because we've moved forward with focus on entrepreneurship and other things, and that's all I'll say about that. Is there any other things that you folks want to throw out that we need to be considering as the council?
The last thing that I would say is that I just want to thank everybody for this process. I think that this was a really important meeting to have everybody in the room and kind of air out some grievances and discuss some of these things that I think was a really good thing for the public to see. So.
Okay. Council members, is there anything that you want to put on the table? Okay. Citizens, I would ask, is it clear what we've decided tonight? I don't want any vagueness as far as what there is. So are you understanding what's going on? You can ask a question. Come up to the mic, though, because we have to put you on video. Thank you.
So I may have misunderstood. Are you saying that if there was parking, that couldn't be used as funds for?
My understanding is it's not compelling for the bonding people to have that as the primary focus of a funding mechanism, that they want to have something more, which is the city government committing. And
so wouldn't that money go into the general budget though, and then that would you could pull from the general budget
Yeah, I think
correct?
Again, when Ryan and I are talking, it may include a revenue stream kind of thing as well. So it's not just a cutting position, but there would be a solution that we're looking for. And am I getting that right from what you've talked to the bonding people about?
I think if the parking, let's say, generated $250,000 a year, and the city were to come up with the additional funds from the bonding standpoint and the rec district standpoint, if the city is making the commitment for the full operating funds, it doesn't matter what the sources of those funds are.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
So again, that, I want to clarify too, that it doesn't matter. So it may not be parking meters. It could be something else that we're looking at. Exactly. They're looking for a commitment from the city. Is everything clear? I want to make sure, if citizens, you're representing the folks who are watching online, that it's clear where we're going. And are we good? Yes. Okay. Can I have that? Because I want to make sure that that is clear to the citizens as well. We did look at the issue regarding Madison, and it's not available. It's confirmed that there is, it's not owned by the school district any longer. Okay. Any others? Thank you so much for those who are watching online, and for those who have participated here and your comments. And I want to thank the rec board, and I'll shake the chairman's hand from the mayor saying thank you so much for representing the rest of you, and council members, thank you for what you're doing. And I think we've had a positive meeting the best we could, and no one person has the decisions in this. It is a consensus across the community as far as where we're going to go. That makes it complicated. It makes it sticky. And I think we're doing our best to navigate this. So thank you very much. We are adjourned.